Hey guys, welcome to the last 5 chapters of Hyper-Borea, chapter 20 being the end. We're coming in close. If you have any predictions for the ending, or if you want to comment and talk about the stuff you've liked, I invite you to do so in any of these chapters. As well, remember to like the video, and in the description we have the link to the Amazon page, which we have the Kindle version and the physical copy that you can buy. The Kindle edition is only $2.99, even if you plan on not reading it at all, but listening to it. It'd be super helpful if you bought that. I appreciate you guys, and I hope to hear what you've enjoyed about the book so far. Chapter 18. Caleb and Sean huddled in a corner of the conference room, their dinner some muffins that had been left over from a previous meeting at the police station. The sergeant who worked the front desk normally had found them in a break room and fed everyone that evening when the attacks had quieted down. I mean, Sean spoke between bites of poppy seed, we might die, but, at least everyone will know we weren't lying about Sovos. Yeah, Caleb knelt. Caleb felt the knot on his head from where he had fallen earlier, during the second attack on the building. I wonder what he's doing right now. Probably lecturing someone, they both chuckled. I took him to Juan Berto's and he loved it. He couldn't stop drinking horchata. They both laughed in hushed tones. Oh, shoot, bro. Caleb looked over at someone walking toward them. Jenna's coming. The room was large enough to host the town council and emergency officials in case there was ever a need to coordinate a disaster response team. A few families had fled their cars and sought shelter in the police station when the broadcast came over the radio and TV, telling people to barricade themselves in their homes. Jenna's family was one of those. Sean's face turned red hot, and he hoped the light was dim enough that she wouldn't notice. Jenna was his high school crush. He had known her for 4 years, but never spoken with her. He was pretty sure he was invisible to her, as she dated all the popular guys. Guys like Austin and Trevor, who either were on the football team or had rich dads. Hi, Jenna, Sean greeted, as she knelt down with them. Hey, Caleb tried to play it cool. Hi, she smiled awkwardly. So, is it true that you guys are like best friends with that wizard? Sean couldn't believe that this was happening. It was just like Sylvia had said so long ago when they were back home. Sean had thought about that, thought about a million scenarios where he might run into Jenna while they were in Sedona, and she would be so fascinated by him for once. It was finally coming true. Yeah, we are, Sean managed, his throat closing up. She was so beautiful, he felt embarrassed even looking at her. I saw him out one of the windows when you guys showed up. He was shooting lightning and fire out of his hands. She was energetic in her recounting, adding hand motions here and there to imitate Sovos. Did he teach you guys anything? Like, about magic? Sean asked. Yeah, Caleb responded. He gave us these cool swords, and he trained us how to be sword fighters. Sean shot a sideward glare at Caleb, jealous that he was able to be so confident with his friend's crush. Did you see the way those shadow men cut through the rock guys? Jenna was really animated as she turned to Caleb. She was referencing the attack that had come after Sovos left, a couple of hours after that is. The stone men and those freaky animals tried to get through the barricaded windows. The police didn't bother shooting at them, their guns useless. They focused all their energy on keeping the front plexiglass windows and door intact from the onslaught. That's when Caleb got bonked in the head. He was holding a 2x4 against a piece of furniture when a golem threw its whole weight against the glass and sent him backward, hitting his head on a desk someone had dragged over to add to the furniture leveraged against the windows. Yeah, it was pretty crazy seeing Gilruel's army. Sean crossed his arms, confidence coming from his jealousy. He was referring to their unlikely saviors, the Shadow Army and their armor, the color of storm clouds. Their spears and crossbows made quick work of the mutant animals, their swords slicing through the gravel joints of the stone men. Both forces were interested in taking the people of Sedona captive, which meant that once the elemental army was pushed back, the Shadow Men turned their attention to the police station. But unlike the stone men, the Shadow Men were not immune to bullets. The police took to the roof, dodging crossbow bolts while they gunned down a dozen soldiers before the attackers retreated. Jenna's attention was now back to Sean. She gulped. Is that the name of the witch? Rumors and information had spread fast between the FBI agents and police officers, then down to the families huddled together. Almost all were aware that there was an army of skinwalkers, an army of zombies, and a wizard that was working with the U.S. government. Yeah, Sean confirmed, arms still crossed. She's doing this to try and stop Sovos from getting an ancient artifact from here. When he does that, he's going to kill her, in her whole army. Sean looked again to Caleb, who appeared relaxed, almost uncaring. This relaxed Sean too. his fear that Caleb would move in on Jenna gone. Wow, she seemed to be envisioning the scene Sean had painted in her mind's eye. You sure do not know a lot about the wizard. No wonder he made you his apprentice. She fell from her knees to her bum and scooted towards Sean a few inches. Sean blushed as her voice softened, and she giggled. I mean, he was cut off, and likely saved, by the conference room door opening and Agent Jack waving them over. Sean, Caleb, come on, he whispered loud enough for them to hear across the quiet room, weary of the people trying to sleep after their traumatic experiences. See ya, Jenna. Sean smiled, still blushing. Bye, she smiled back. The two friends fell in behind Jack Callahan as he led them down the hall. Nice job back there, dude. Caleb offered his hand to Sean, who gave him a high five. She was totally into you. Sovos came in clutch with the apprentice talk. Sean would have to thank him when he saw him again. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Jack said, not turning to look at them. Would harsh the vibe, Caleb retorted, looking at Sean and fist-bumping him. They weren't going to let their moment be ruined, but a small part of each of them worried about why the FBI agent had said that. Jack opened a door after they ascended a set of stairs and ushered them into the conference room smaller than the one they had come from. It was more like a command center than anything else. There was a video projected onto a wall directly in front of Mendoza, who sat at the middle of a long table. Cops and a couple of agents studied computers with satellite images and live videos. There was a man speaking from the projection. He was clearly a high-ranking military officer from his uniform, a name tag prominent given he was blown up to fit the wall. Scarfield, it read, and the name suited him. To Caleb and Sean, he looked mean. You have your orders, Mendoza, the general lectured. You already let the terrorists get away. You're on thin ice. You will do as I say or you will be court-martialed. Are we clear? Yes, sir, was the FBI man's only response. Good. Scarfield out. The video call ended and the screen transitioned into an overhead view of the police station. There must have been a drone in the air above them. That was brutal, Caleb mumbled so only Sean could hear. Mendoza pondered for a moment before addressing the three who had just entered. Jack, thank you for getting them. Boys, take a seat. Seemingly unfazed from his interaction, Mendoza stood and moved two rolling chairs to face him. As Sean and Caleb sat, he began speaking, taking his own seat as well. I was debriefed by the general about our meeting with Sovos. He was not pleased, and, as maybe you heard, of course, I had to tell him everything. Mendoza looked to Sean, almost apologetically. Was Sean reading that right? I told him that Sovos appointed you, he pointed to Sean, his apprentice. Of course, the general knew you, he pointed to Caleb, were the last seen with Sovos. We have everything you two said to each other on video monitoring system from the surveillance van you both stole. Caleb raised a hand to argue, but was cut short. Not now, kid. Jack shushed from behind him. General Scarfield sent us this intel. Mendoza swiveled to a mouse and keyboard and navigated the projected screen on the wall. He pulled up a small video presentation that showed satellite images of troop movements, both during the day and night, around Sedona. The Witch, codenamed Zodiac, has pushed the Skinwalkers, codenamed Brain Trust, all the way to the Y junction, basically cutting the city in half, with Arizona State Route 179 in the middle. The satellite image showed Sedona, highlighting the major highways that did indeed form a Y, with the two prongs at the top being State Route West 89 on the left, coming from the west, and State Route 89A north, heading north. Coming from the south was the 179, the body of the Y. The bulk of the city lay on the west and south sides, the remaining amount along the 89 north being the most touristy part of town. The military is pushing its way up from the south, along the 179, running into the stone men here and there, which halts their progress. We do well against the shadow men and zombies, but poorly against enemies made out of stone, trees, and now we're seeing living water here and there. Zodiac forces do best against the Brain Trust. It's like a big game of rock, paper, scissors. Scarfield knows this, and he's conscious that he needs to free as many people as he can before they're turned into mindless ghouls. The screen showed Shadow Knights, dragging people out of their homes, as well as zombies doing the same work. The helpless civilians were thrust under floating pyramids, which were labeled obelisks by the computer. Once under an obelisk, a jet of black liquid spilt onto the victim, who then turned into a zombie. He got word that Zodiac herself is going to be leading the push uptown into the heart of the Brain Trust territory, or what they have left of it. Scarfield is going to wait until the two are fighting, then he'll push in from the south and mop up the rest. He's going to go in personally. That's how he does it. Cool. Caleb was at the edge of his seat. Sean, however, was suspicious. You may be wondering where you two come into play. They both nodded, maintaining their impressions from a moment ago. Scarfield is sending a SEAL team here to recover you both. He wants you there personally to advise him should you have any questions about magic. Whoa! Caleb's face was that of a small child at Christmas. Why can't you guys take us? Sean asked. Well, Mendoza sighed, turning back to the screen and executing some commands on the keyboard. We've got our own problems here. He showed the view of the police station again, but moved the camera view down the street. The image changed to infrared, the world turning blue except for anything with a heat signature. A small fire was glowing red-orange, a cat fleeing in the night. Then a neighborhood was in view and a horde of red with it. This is a couple thousand of Zodiac schools. They're coming for us after they're done recruiting in this neighborhood. My guess is that Zodiac knows we're here. She knows we could be a thorn in her side, and she wants us gone before her big battle. We can't leave. Sean thought of Jenna, and even Mr. Callahan, who, despite being so grumpy, he thought of as a friend, even though he did handcuff him to a chair. Don't worry about us, kid. We fortified the doors while you were resting. We've got fallback points, and we're able to barricade the door leading to the roof, where we can hide as a last resort. Jack chimed in. We've also got a few thousand rounds of ammo. With 50 shooters, that's only 40 zombies each. The SEALs will be here in 10 minutes. We appreciate you both, but we each have jobs to do in this. Mendoza stood. Jack, take them to the back door. Good luck, you two. Caleb and Sean stood, somewhat in shock and still processing everything that had been told to them. Be careful with General Scarfield. The last warning was something else to think on, too. Why had he cautioned them about the general when they were about to be whisked off to participate in a battle? The thought was on both their minds. They pieced it together, and their expressions became more dour. General Scarfield wanted them to personally advise him. Mendoza had also said that the officer would likely go in personally. That would put the two of them in the middle of the fighting. Jack led the two college students out of the conference room and down the stairs. They followed the long hallway and through doors that required badge access. The three were silent the whole way. Agent Callahan halted them under an exit sign, then pushed both Caleb and Sean against the wall. Listen to every word these guys say. This isn't Skyrim or whatever you both play. This is real life. Thousands of people have already died. The FBI man was worn-looking, his eyes bloodshot and his stubble coming in thick. Whatever you do, just listen. Both Sean and Caleb nodded. Here, hide these. He reached behind his jacket and pulled out from his waistband 2 objects, handing them over with a smirk. They were the hilts of the extending swords that Sovos had made for them. Thanks, Mr. Callahan. Sean hugged him. No problem, kid. Keep them hidden. Scarfield doesn't have to know. They stood there for what felt like an eternity in silence, Sean thinking of anything he could say, but coming up short. He knew Jack had a family. He knew he was probably thinking of them and the zombie horde headed their way. Sean hoped Sovos would come back soon, for all of their sakes. He liked dealing with the wizard's strange ways much better than playing politics with a general. There was a knock at the door, softly, and Jack opened it. A man in black tactical gear and green night vision goggles flipped up over his helmet nodded to the FBI man. Sean, Caleb, my name is Reese. I'm here to take you to General Scarfield. You two ready to go? He spoke in a kind voice, even and calm. Caleb and Sean nodded, following the Navy SEAL into the night. He motioned for them to keep close, and they fell into the middle of the pack of 6 operators. Reese spoke softly to them. We've got a 4-mile hike through the neighborhoods. I'm going to need you two to be as quiet as you can, and I'll talk you through everything, okay? He still maintained a calm demeanor despite their exposure, as they maintained a quick pace away from the police station and into the quiet street lined with homes. Yes, sir, Sean answered back in his best whisper. Please, call me Reese. The team moved with efficiency. Each one seemed to know his role well. It's what Caleb and Sean expected of them, having seen all the movies about the legendary group of elite warriors. Watching them, Sean felt as if they had eyes on every square inch of the night. They fell into a rhythm as they moved, 3 SEALs in front and 3 behind. The night was cool but not cold, the moon partially obscured by clouds. A coyote's howl made Caleb jump, and Sean wondered if the gunshots in the distance were an indicator of success or failure on the part of the person shooting. Even though they were surrounded on all sides by danger, Caleb and Sean felt safe with these men. They ducked under chain-link fences that had been cut open, and took turns helping each other over block walls. They held still as patrols of shadowmen marched by, and snuck past bats feasting on something that Sean could not see, and did not want to know what it was. No matter their pace, as they sometimes walked, sometimes crawled, and sometimes jogged, Sean could not help but think back to Jenna and the rest of the people at the police station. How long did they have until Gilroy's zombies came for them? Was he lucky to get out, or was he going to be thrust by the general into the coming battle? My dreams took me to many places, to the camp of Gilorel, her champion guarding her at every moment, her fades marching about while the thousands of zombies attached to their floating obelisks ravaged the city. She never seemed to notice me watching her. I was not sure if I really was, or if this was some fabrication of my mind. I visited memories, of which I was sure were real. I experienced surreal moments, such as standing in the streets of the great city of Phoenix, without a soul in sight, the population reduced to me, not a sound nor movement, but for my actions. Other than that, McLan would visit me here and there, butting into my dreams with his irksome laughter. The most torturous visitation was my view of Alfheim from above. The tower of Draugdrotten on scroll alight with differing kinds of magic missiles firing downward at a beach covered in bubbles of magical shield, a landing party from Cormal's fleet attempting to break the line and move beyond the ramparts of the defenders and up into the burial place of our ancestors. I didn't know what this was, a memory of something yet to happen, a scene from the past now that I was in the future, or a potential eventuality yet to occur. But as I watched the back and forth of the battle, McLan walked toward me in the sky. "This is your home? Maybe when I am done with my kingdom here, I shall go and conquer yours too." He laughed again. Ha 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 ha. I would rejoice the day in which I never had to hear that laugh again. Almost strangely, I would have preferred to deal with Gilorel. At least she was a professional. "This is not your conflict, shaman." As if lucid for the first time, I wondered how long I had been in this state. How long was there left in the hourglass that was Rensharo? His response to my comment? His laugh. Ugh. Oh, ha, ha, ha. "It became my conflict when you meddled where you should not have. You are weak and I am strong. You are mine and I am your master." I felt excruciating pain in my stomach as he sneered. Then there was blackness again, and that hiss from the serpent. I saw my parents on their ship, my wonderfully strong daddy lifting me up and smiling while my beautiful mother looked to the horizon. I saw with my infantile eyes the looks of fear cast about her face, where previously there had been nothing but joy for our family trip. An iceberg, undetected somehow by the full master of the ship. I blinked, unsure if it was in another dream or back into my body. I was looking downward at my bare chest. Someone had removed my clothing and replaced it with a loincloth. Bizarre. Was this real? My gaze shifted up, the effort extraordinary. My eyes, if seen by a third party, would have been dazzling blue, as I fixed my vision upon the staff-potent key. That arrogant, naive McLan had imprisoned me next to his precious staff. The world returned to me, my limbs heavy, my arms outstretched and tied to posts at my flanks, my legs similarly tied. I was like an X, about 3 feet above the ground. I was lacking my ingredients bag, and my head pulsed with a headache. I considered casting, thinking of the many spells available to me, but as my fingers itched with the talent, I noticed a stir. Below, a few feet away, but well within striking distance, a snake sat coiled, its eyes shut in deep sleep. It stirred only when I flexed my magical abilities. Troubling. What had caused me to wake? Had the venom begun to wear off? Had I developed a tolerance slowly? Had the snake slept in? Damn that snake. I killed you once, stay dead next time. A man, or what appeared to be a man, was suddenly before me, as if from thin air. Had he been invisible? Had he teleported? He was oddly dressed. I imagine how I must look to others if I presented in Alfheim clothing. He was in keeping with the staff of Potent Key, a local indigenous person, of a regal stature and style, though I could not see his face because of a great mask. The thing was like a helmet given its size, a squat cylinder, with 2 large fins on either side, like ears, and a feather crown at the top. The cylinder was blue like the light emanating from the staff, and pool, the fins black, the feathers gold. Upon the face of the mask were 2 holes, an upside-down triangle where the eyes and nose should have been, and a thin line where the mouth would go. It was darkness through those holes, but I could feel eyes perceiving me. A white robe with high collar cinched at the neck and flowing down to the floor of dirt was the rest, with triangular and lined patterns trimming the top and bottom in gold and black. We stared at each other for some time. My eyes narrowed. I refused to speak first. Whether that was because of the sleeping snake or some power play, I did not know. I figured the latter, given I was otherwise utterly powerless, tied and paralyzed here, and needed something for my self-esteem. He spoke first, the sucker. "You are Sovos." The voice was familiar, not audible, but intruded on my mind. I realized in that moment that this was the being which had been guiding me, who had given me the dream before I had entered the Red Land. I am Kokweli, a Kachina of the Hopi people. I briefly recalled the map of the region, of where the reservations fell. I did not believe that the territory of Sedona was occupied by that tribe. As if reading my mind, Kokweli responded, Though my people do not occupy this land, I am still responsible for it. I raised my eyebrows at that one. In my mind, I responded, Not too shabby of a job you've been doing. 3 of the most foul ones are dead, are they not? Yes, but... You can see my role in that, despite your desire to argue. I was mum to that remark. I will free you. You will take the staff, and you will bring it with you as you leave this land. And now you tell me the cost. Destroy the cult of Mictlan, destroy the witch, and warn the people to take better care of this land. Mr. Kokweli, it appears your desires... I paused, the excitement of my potential release raising my hairs on end. Are my desires. I find this deal to be enticing. Good. I will purify the remaining venom from your blood. You will not hear from me again. The self-identified Kachina disappeared, as if a breeze passed through smoke. The intrusion in my mind remained as my body slowly awoke, the muscles of my limbs feeling less heavy, the sensation of a rope burn in my ankles and wrists intensifying. I looked downward now, easily, my neck functioning at full capacity. The ropes binding me ripped, and I fell to the ground. The snake waking, striking out at my thigh. The spirit of Quetz that inhabited this creature surely was shocked as it bounced off of a shield I had conjured, the snake falling backward into the dirt. It tried to slither away, but I grabbed it by the place below its head, controlling it, keeping it unable to bite me again. I turned the snake to look me in the eyes. Stay dead, foul demon. The snake exploded in my hands. It was very satisfying, though I looked up at the artifact, not nearly as satisfying as seizing potent key would be. With a smile on my face to rival Mictlan's sneer, I walked around the wall and through the tunnel that one had to pass through to get out, and through the vortex past the wooden door. I did not go beyond, though, stopping in the tube. I found my belongings neatly piled. I slipped on my jewel slippers and threw the bag of ingredients over my shoulder, cinching it tight. Then I was around the wall again, and floating in the air. My skin tingled as I drew near the staff, my nerves on end with excitement. I was face to face with it now. This was the culmination of my plan, the pinnacle of the blueprint that the king and I had poured so many hours into. My face was undoubtedly alight, not just from the almost intoxication of the moment, but from the blue light of the crystals on Potenki's crown. I had traveled thousands of miles through time, navigated an extremely foreign culture rich in technology and unknowns, found an incredibly powerful artifact, and evaded the terrible wife of my enemy Komal. My hand outstretched, as if watching myself in third person, my fingers wrapped around the staff. I was grasping it now. The first sensation was the common one when taking control of an artifact, a surge of power bursting through my veins. It was as if they all lifted in a wave coursing through my body, pulsating. I would now be even more unstoppable than before, my abilities amplified and multiplied through this catalyst. I felt something else now, the memory of the staff. I knew now and had the capability to teleport. Yes, this was it. I turned in the air, facing toward the exit. I retrieved from my bag a wad of cloth that I had stolen from Walmart, crimson red and pure gold fabric. I threw it in the air and cast my spell, my loincloth falling away and my person being clothed in what transformed into magnificent robes of red trimmed with gold, my shoulders padded and broadened by the ornamental pauldron on each side. I considered where to test my newfound ability to teleport. I considered a mountain overlooking Sedona, back to Phoenix, or to go to Alfheim instead. The idea of hiding out until Rensharo expired was attractive. Minimize risk. None could blame me, really. I was here for one purpose. I could sentence Kokweli, Sean, Caleb, Sylvia, Kyle, the FBI, and the city of Sedona to their fates. This society was far more capable than most, and would likely have no issue with destroying Gilrel and the chieftain, given enough time and deaths, especially now that the foul shaman had his power cut off. Yes, leave them all. The FBI betrayed me first, after all. Why not? I had to prioritize my people.